Hello and welcome to Glittering the Coast. My name is Angela and I am so thankful that you are here today. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful sunset beach tumbler, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. So everything that I'm going to be using today will be listed in the description, and I have a few discount codes there also, so please make sure if you're looking for all of these items to go and take a look. I'm starting off with a 20-ounce skinny tumbler, and I have spray painted it with gold on the bottom and pink on the top. I'm using KS Resin Liquidy Split Ultra UV for the epoxy method to add the glitter onto the tumbler, and I'm using about 1 to 2 milliliters all over the tumbler. I use a gloved hand in order to make sure that the epoxy has been completely and thoroughly smoothed over the entirety of the cup. I make sure I get the bottom of the cup really well, and I try to make sure that I don't have any lines in the epoxy so that when I add the glitter on there, it's not making it look like the glitter is striped. So if you add too much epoxy or you're not getting it smooth enough, that is something that will happen to you. So just make sure that you've got really smooth epoxy over your entire cup. So for this, I'm going to be using all glitter by KCC Glitter, and it's my friend's company, which I'm super excited to be able to share the glitter with you. I've got my colors lined up in order on how I'm going to use them, and this first one is a gold glitter, and it is called Sandy Toes. It's a really pretty, I would say it's a medium textured chunky glitter, so it's not super chunky, but it has some texture to it. It's not that fine textured glitter, so I really love this glitter on the bottom of the cup. It has pretty pink flecks in it. I'm starting at the bottom and I'm working my way up the cup with this gold glitter, trying to do an ombre as best as I can. Now, I am not an ombre queen, so just, do your best. I'm learning along the way too. So this next glitter color is called Fairy Godmother, and it also has a little bit of a gold iridescent shimmer to it. So it works really well with the gold underneath the cup, and it works really well with the gold that's right next to it. I like this because I can match these glitter colors if they have a little bit of a gold shimmer to it, and I know that they're going to work out really well. So I am using just the fine part of the lid on all of my glitters. I'm not dumping the glitter out onto my tumbler. I take the glitter and I make sure that I am up far enough away from the tumbler so that I can let the glitter fall onto the tumbler, and I make sure that I'm starting off pretty high up, especially if you're doing an ombre. Like I said, I am not the best at doing an ombre. Eventually I will get really good at it, but I start far up on the cup and then I just kind of work my way down, and I let the glitter fall onto the already glittered part, and then I let it fall onto the surface where there's no epoxy. So now I'm working with the purple color. It's called Lavender Fields. It's also a fine color glitter, and I'm taking my Fairy Godmother and I have my cup angled towards me, and I'm letting the glitter fall into the purple. It does not have to be perfect. We are going to be adding some waves to it in a little while with some white epoxy, but do your best. Get you some practice time going in there. I'm taking Lavender Fields and I am trying to now ombre into Fairy Godmother, which is the blue color. I really like this on the blue onto the gold base. It turns it into almost a seafoam green color, and that works out really well. Next up we have here is Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie is a very pretty hot pink color, and it also has a little bit of a gold shimmer to it, so it works well with all of the colors on the cup. And I'm starting up pretty high with the pink, and I am now just ombreing a little bit down so that when the purple and the pink meet, it will not look like a completely straight line. I have like I said earlier, I have a coupon code in the description. So if you're looking to save on your glitter and on your epoxy, feel free to check out those links. And I will be linking every item that I use in the description as well. So also make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers so that this channel can eventually be monetized. And, that's the goal here. Showing y'all how to make really pretty tumblers, putting my spin on them, and to eventually make a couple dollars, right? All right, this orange color is really pretty. It's a neon orange, and it works really well with all of the colors that I have listed. And this one is called Dreamsicle. I start off at the top of the cup, and I work my way down, fully covering the epoxy part as much as I can while still giving an ombre effect. Going back in with this Pinkie pie, putting it into the orange little by little, and then I'll go back in with the orange. Make sure that every time you're using a color and you're finished with it, you tap off the excess glitter. That way your glitter doesn't contaminate your other glitter colors. Now after I am done after I'm done applying my glitter, I take it outside and I spray paint it with Rust-Oleum 2x clear, and I let that sit for about 30 minutes to an hour. Now, I did let the glitter sink into the epoxy for about 2 hours before I spray painted it with a clear. Now I'm going in with 20 ounces of KS Resin Liquidy Split Ultra UV Epoxy, and with a finger caught on, I'm going to be adding just a little bit of epoxy at a time. I work at the top and I work my way down. I like to work with lighter colors at first because of how they work together, and I make sure that with the way that I have spray painted my tumbler, the glitter shouldn't move, but if it does, I make sure that I am careful with it and wipe off any excess glitter so that I'm not transferring it to other colors. I feel like if I can keep the glitter where it's at, my ombre will, the whole cup is going to look good if I don't have different glitter pieces where it shouldn't be. So that's why I really like to spray paint my tumbler. Now that I have worked down to the bottom of the cup, I am making sure that I'm getting epoxy everywhere. However, I want to make sure that I'm not doing a ton of epoxy on the bottom of the cup, because when we're done with all of the layers of epoxy, you don't want this cup to wobble when you or your customer sets it down on the table. So I will apply the epoxy on the bottom, get it nice and smooth, and then I'll wipe off any excess, and then I will take my heat torch and I will go in and pop any of the micro bubbles that I have on there. I like the torch because it won't move my epoxy the way a heat gun will. So if you don't have a torch, it's linked in the description. I would totally recommend one. And I am lightly going over it and popping any bubbles that I may have. You don't want to set it on there for too long, and you don't want to burn your epoxy. I have 2 coats of epoxy on at this point in time. I didn't videotape that because it was the same process as before. So now I'm taking a napkin or a paper towel, and I have acetone on it, and I am removing the spray paint that's inside, making sure that it is completely clean. The sooner you do this after you spray paint the cup, the easier it is for the acetone to come off. So you can do that before you even start to glitter if you want to. Now I'm taking an X-Acto knife and I'm going around the top of the cup to make sure there's no epoxy or glitter that's left on the rim. And I sand the rim after that with a fine grit sandpaper, and I'm getting off any excess chunky pieces if I have a rough spot. I go over the entire cup with a fine grit sandpaper, and I didn't actually videotape this part, but I'll go in with a sanding block if I have really rough pieces anywhere on the cup or on the rim. But I always make sure I use a sanding block on the rim to expose a little bit of that silver so that my epoxy has somewhere to set at the end. Now after that, you want to make sure you wash your cup really well with Dawn dish soap and water, and clean it with a clean microfiber cup cloth to make sure that your cup is completely dry before you epoxy again. So you just saw me holding up the white, which will be used as waves, and it is called Alumilite White. It is a resin dye. So basically what you're doing now is you've got 20 ounces of epoxy in your cup, and you'll put at least 15 ounces of epoxy on the cup. Now, depending on the size and the shape of the tumbler, you may have to mix a little more or you may have to mix a little less. So just use your best judgment there. And I'm going in smoothing over the epoxy, making sure that every area of the cup has epoxy on, because I'm going to be making waves in just a moment. Like I said, everything is in the description, so if you're looking for something, go jump in there and see what you need. I will be using a heat gun on this part because I want my epoxy to move once I put the waves on. So now I'm taking this resin dye and putting a little drop in there. Little goes a long way. So this 1 ounce bottle is going to be able, you're going to use this for a ton of projects. Oh, I put a little drop in there. I'm stirring it around on my epoxy with my popsicle stick.